Good morning. Although I may not look it, it is spring outside. And that's just so fun. I love spring, especially after all this cold snap we've had. This morning I went outside and I heard a blackbird for the first time this spring. And that's, to me, always the signal that spring is really here. And I love blackbirds. They're my favorite. And, well, in terms of songs, it's hard to have a favorite of birds. There's so many lovely ones. And yesterday I also saw ravens flying overhead, and I couldn't figure out what was going on in there. But it turned out that it had this big tuft of grasses and stuff, nesting material in its mouth as it flew overhead. And I thought, yeah, it's spring. And that got me thinking about the seasons and the way that nature celebrates. Every season has its own beauty and has its own wonder and has its own, purpose and benefit. And yet humans, we can tend to just get stuck in, we want, blue sky and sunshine all the time. And rain is something that should happen only on a farmer's field so that we have food, but otherwise. And I thought, how much we miss out of life if we fail to celebrate the beauty of each of the phases and seasons and moods and weathers of this amazing planet. And that's one of the things that I think we really miss in modern humanity. More nature-based religions celebrated and still celebrate the seasons and those little turning points in the year and whatever's coming up next, even when it's the rain season or the fog season or the snow season or the dark of the moon or the dark of the year. They all have their beauty. And when we celebrate those, we connect in with the rhythm of Mother Earth. We find ourselves because we are nature. Nature is us. The ego likes to think it's separate. It's above all that, right? Here it is in your head floating, while nature and earth is something that happens down there, right? But it's not true. And because it's not true, it doesn't nourish us. That mindset, that alienation from nature creates this angst and hunger and grief inside of us because we're cut off from ourselves, from a really fundamental level of who we are and what we're about. I'm all about the spiritual path, right? And at the same time, I don't consider that to mean that it's out there somewhere and it's cut off from the earth. Not at all. Modern, spirituality in this coming golden age is based on the planet. We are spiritual while we are matter. We are nature and spirit. We are divinity all wrapped up in all of these aspects at the same time. And can you feel how much more satisfying that is? How glorious. the heart just flies. And one way I think we can get back to that is by celebrating the seasons and the turning points in the year and the phases of the moon and all of those little things that happen that make life on earth so intriguing and constantly changing and exciting. Because it would be really dull if it were the same all the time, right? I think that's one of the reasons, actually, I'm going to erase that qualifier. That's one of the reasons that Wicca has spoken to my soul for so long, to my body maybe. I mean, part of it is I know that spirituality needs to be grounded on the planet, in the body, now. And Wicca, for a long time, possibly still, is the more, it seems to me to have the most potential for bringing that in to spiritual life, bringing in those aspects. And that's why, even though I, am trained in yoga and Buddhist meditation and stuff, lots of stuff, I kept coming back to Wicca because as glorious as it was to be expanded out into, cosmic consciousness and flying high spiritually, essentially, it wasn't enough. There was a big part, like half, missing. And that half is the connection to earth and body and physical life. We came here for a reason. We're not here just to escape, right? We came here to explore being spirit in matter, to explore being co-creators, even while we're in physical form, to explore maintaining that awareness, that expanded, complete awareness of our truest selves while being in the body and not getting lost in that, not forgetting who we really are. And that's especially coming forth now that we're coming back into the spiritual age. The pendulum has started that swing. That's so much nicer. So this is one of the reasons that I still, support and teach Wicca, because it's so wonderful at helping us to remember, to celebrate, to recognize the beauty in each part of the wheel. The dying part is just as beautiful as the birthing part. And the resting, stillness, quiet is just as lovely as the warm, sunny, cheerful spaces. They all have their own gift to offer, and it's entirely up to us to accept this gift and open it and cherish it or not. Life becomes so much more fulfilling when we do. And there are so many ways we can step into that, but it doesn't even matter how. However we do it is wonderful. There's a thing I do sometimes, because I can be kind of adrift in time. I don't really work with time very well. And sometimes I will, draw a little pattern on the floor, and especially at the turning points of in Wicca, there's 8 turning points of the wheel. There's, the solstices and the equinoxes. And then there are what we call the cross quarters, which are pretty much directly in between. And at each turn of the wheel, at each phase, I like to draw something on the floor. I don't always do this, but sometimes when I remember, it's really helpful. And then that will represent to me the next phase, the phase of the wheel that we're just coming into. And I will consciously center myself in where I am, and then I will step forward in my body into that space. And as I do so, I'm cognizant that I am coming into this moment, this season, on this planet, this part of the cycle. So I'm just throwing that out there because it might be helpful or enjoyable for you as well. So that's my message for today. And there's only so much we can do in one day, but how do we make this a practice? See if you can't find the specialness of the season, whatever season you're in right now, wherever you live, the specialness of being right here, right now, and celebrate that. Even just recognizing it and giving thanks for that. Can you see how that in itself is a mindfulness practice? It brings us back into the present moment, into the body, into our current environment. We are right here, right now, activating all the senses, ideally, and just being aware and appreciating and thankful. It's a beautiful practice. So I hope to share that with you today. Let's see if we can't do that together. And please leave me comments in the section below to let me know how that went for you today. And if there are any insights that came up or that sort of thing, I'd love to hear them. At any rate, I will talk to you again tomorrow, and have a beautiful, blessed day wherever you are in this wonderful wheel of nature. Blessed be.